Hey guys, it's me, Amina, your underwhelming film kid. Okay, so essentially this is going to be a different change in pace than what I've normally done. So, how do I put this? So far, by the time this will come out, because I'm pretty sure this will come out before anything else comes out, I have recorded in total, including the one that's already up on the channel, 6 videos. As I just said, only one is on the channel. Like, one's finished and it looks like utter garbage now that I'm looking back at it, so maybe I'll change it. But things that have happened. Miss Rona basically kept everyone in our house, so I feel like I have no other excuse for why I haven't gotten this done recently. But also, classes have started again, and next week is my last week of classes. I'm saying next week as in like today is the 22nd. It is April 22nd. In my on my block video, that was the last one I recorded. I will keep that in whenever it pops up. I said I recorded on like May 24th. It wasn't going to show up until April 24th. At this point, you might not get it until June. Oops. I had a totally different hairstyle. My nails still look the same, so maybe you can, like, I don't know, try to figure out what time this is by judging by my nails and my hair, because like they do change constantly. But essentially it's been a minute. So to kind of tide you guys over, to whoever finds this channel, because last time I checked, actually I haven't checked that in a while, like, oops. But the last time I did check is I only had one person watch it, so it might have just been someone from YouTube making sure I wasn't, you know, no copyright out here in these streets. But to tide it over and make it seem like I'm not totally a flake, like I didn't just create it and create one video and I was satisfied with myself, because I am never satisfied, I decided I was going to put something in between. So it doesn't look like I totally disappeared, like I made one and done. So since this is essentially going to be a video essay, I decided to use a topic I ended up using for one of my classes last semester. It was a communication course and we had to create a PowerPoint presentation. She told us we could choose anything we wanted. Didn't have to be academic in the slightest. And me, oh me, she said do anything, and I said, honey, I got you. Because when she said this was also still 2019. It was still the era of like the 2010s. Now it is 2020. And like the 20s haven't started off pretty right. Like I don't know if this is just something they cut out from just history books and like in like our history classes, because I wasn't really forewarned about like this flu pandemic that popped up in like 1918, 1920 time frame. Because if that was the case, no one told me this. They didn't tell me we had a pandemic. You know what they told me about? The Black Plague, okay? Because people weren't disposing of their crap correctly. And now I'm stuck in my house. Actually, I'm really not that bored stuck in my house. I feel like I'd be more upset. I think I'm more upset that right now I just don't do anything except sit in my house all day. I decided to do this video essay because one, I think it needed to be said, because I remember like when I was doing the research for this project, essentially when I'm talking about like just the 2010s era of movies and essentially why all the remakes were so constant. Listen, bro, I don't know how many y'all got like nieces and nephews and baby cousins about coming up in this time, but they got done dirty in like the worst way possible. Reasons being, not even just like because the corona, so like I feel like that's weird for you to sit there and be as a child like, oh yeah, I remember sitting in my house because we weren't allowed to go outside. Like that's gonna be, bro, I don't even want to know, because like we have different issues in life. This ain't it, pal. But I remember when I was doing the research for this, everyone was just kind of being like, kind of like shitting on the 2010s kids, saying like how nothing they do stands for anything, how everything's just like a recreation of our stuff. But I think at the same time that kind of makes a lot of sense, because essentially when she was like, okay, so if you go to this site, it's called filmsite.org. There's a man named Tim Dirks who just kind of, I really hope I'm saying that right, but he just kind of like keeps up with everything and he like edits it, I guess, whenever it needs to be edited, anything new that needs to pop up. and he basically goes film history by the decade. So the 70s is what created our summer blockbuster. We have Mr. Steven Spielberg to thank for that, and also for all of like the weird movies that come out now, which we know are going to be like utter trash and nothing but like explosions. But at the same time, it's we pay our money for it, because apparently back then people were too busy going to the beach. So I guess he said, okay, say no more, I'll ruin your beach experience with a shark movie. What was that, Steven? Mr. Spielberg? What was that? So the 80s created, essentially this is like it's called, they say teen angst films. So like essentially Molly Ringwald is like at the forefront of all of these. So you get like 16 Candles. I know she did The Breakfast Club with like, that's apparently a very iconic movie. I should watch that. I haven't watched it yet. Please don't kill me. And then also, I mean, you can like yell about that in the comments, but I have never seen Breakfast Club. I think I realized it existed when I saw the first Pitch Perfect. It was Stand By Me. That was a movie, and I guess they were like a bunch of little kids out in the forest going to go do some hiking. Question mark. I haven't seen that either. I know the song. I just haven't seen it. Okay, so then we get down to like the 90s, and I feel like 90s is just iconic on its own. The music was popping, especially if you're like part of like black culture, R&B and hip hop. Like that's where most of your groups came from. And honestly, just the styles. That's where you got like the box braids, like the flannel, the look, especially with like little crop tops and stuff. Like it's very 90s, as especially with like the big puffer jacket. Basically, essentially what you kind of see like sometimes like Ariana Grande doing, that's kind of like your 90s. That's in that playground, okay? But 90s movies are also known, especially if you go to film school. Okay, I can't say it's a bad thing, but like essentially this is supposed to be like your indies going mainstream. So like that's where you get a lot of like your 90s black movies like Poetic Justice, Boys in the Hood, and everything is basically just going mainstream. So you see like things like the Blair Witch Project. That's kind of like how we think of like Paranormal Activity today, but it made like countless bank, and I think people were just surprised that it made so much. People like to be scared. Who knew? But then also, if you ever go to film school, you're gonna have someone who's gonna sit there and be like, have you seen Pulp Fiction? I love Quentin Tarantino. You're gonna meet at least one, if it's not several. I met several people when I was just like, I've never seen Pulp Fiction. They were like, I know. As soon as like some film student rolls up on it, they're gonna be like, how are you even a film student if you've never seen? And I'm like, listen, I had several movies in my house I was not allowed to touch. Pulp Fiction and several other titles fell under that category. Oops. Then we have the 2000s. That's my era, OMG. So essentially, if you grew up in the 2000s, you had a franchise that you treasured. And I do mean treasured. Because I don't really think I realized how many franchises came out in the 2000s. But like Harry Potter started in like 2001. Around the same time that Lord of the Rings did. So like, please understand. It came through strong. And honestly, later on, we got literally just like the shit show that it is now known to be, that is Twilight. Yay. I mean, like at the time I loved Twilight. I was like in elementary school, and that was probably like my first like dip my toe into YA. But like looking back, it didn't age well. Oops. But I was a big fan of Twilight. Team Jacob, come fight me. Reason being, he never really had a chance with Bella, and at that point I was like, Bella doesn't deserve either one. But he's also very problematic in his own right too. But then also, with all of that, when it kind of gets to like 2010s, they kind of get like thrown stuff, so it doesn't really make sense, because essentially, kind of like how in 2000 they tried to revive Star Wars, they did the same thing like the 2010s. I think it was like 2014, no, 2015. 2015 is like right when like Star Wars started becoming like really big and popular again. Then they gave them like a Toy Story 3 and a 4, and then they redid Mad Max. Why? Well, because essentially, I think we don't want to admit it, but the 2010s was essentially just an era of nothing but nostalgia. And here's my point. Because, like, a lot of these movies that, like, made a lot of money, and I think they figured that's what, like, the people wanted, were from, like, the 80s and 90s. So, like, I have an older cousin who basically, like, grew up in, like, the 80s and 90s. This was, like, his playground, and he was like, I want my kids to watch this. And I was like, they don't understand, sir. Like, you can't just shove that into your children, you feel? Essentially, when you think about it, a lot of the people who make these movies grew up in these times. So it's not like they were like old farts when this was first made back in the 80s and 90s. No, this is people who literally sat there and watched this in the 80s and 90s now making these movies, and essentially it's just like their wet dream coming true. Like, they literally sat there and they were like, well, you know, I'm a big fan of the original work, so I decided to make it. And we were like, that's not what we wanted. So they started bringing back like your horror movies. That's why we have It. No one really talked about it. Like, when I was growing up, it was not a thing. You kind of knew who he was. You knew it was a clown and like a drainage pipe somewhere. That was about it. They decided now we want to scare children even more and just like ruin that entire feeling. They brought back Chucky. I saw the remake with my friend and I kind of sat there like, what? Okay. But then on top of that, you have things like, they also do any things like The Karate Kid. You forgot that existed, didn't you? I almost did too until I had to do research for this. And then Ghostbusters. But then for like 90s nostalgia, you can't talk about 90s nostalgia without bringing out like the big like leader of the pack here, which is Disney. Like, literally, it's just like my homie Mickey on his steamboat Willie with like the castle in the back, just like pulling it down the highway. Because at this point, he was like, I need my coin. So he decided to go on and make like, here's the thing with like the Disney thing. I didn't realize it was a thing until we got to like Beauty and the Beast. Like, because they made Cinderella. And at Cinderella, I was just like, it's time to be remade, because you know they have like 15 different versions of like Cinderella. And then they made the Jungle Book, and I was like, sure, why not? I'll go see it. I wasn't a fan. I know that's unpopular opinion. People like it. I grew up with like the original like OG Jungle Book being played in my house. So like, and I mean like the OG is like the OG Disney version that came out like in the 60s. That's like slightly racist. This fam. This was it beautifully made? For sure. And that's essentially like the problem with all of like these movies, that they're beautifully made, but like they do nothing to actually advance any kind of story. And more than anything, I kind of sat there upset, like, where is my girl singing about getting her pail of water? Like, she had a whole entire song talking about, I'm gonna get this pail of water. But also, Disney has like a weird thing with focusing like solely on like the Renaissance movies, because that's what made them their bank first time round. That's what made them their bank first time round. But the issue with these remakes is that like there's so many issues. One is that like it really does like nothing to like talk about the diversity that like people are craving now, because essentially if you're talking about this current generation, so like mine, slightly above, and like babies, I mean like babies like you, like low-key like under 15 at this point. I mean, I guess I can say 15, you're not like a baby, but like you a baby. Because like, where me and my sister were about like 5 years apart. My sister, she was like alive when like Tarzan was made, and like Hercules and Mulan. Like, she was alive, I was born in 98, like late 98, like not even like, I was born like the last month, but like now on the last day, you feel like down there. So I kind of like slid in right before things just kind of went weird with like Disney, because they were like, our Renaissance made it and they were trying to recreate this magic. But then it got to my era, and now it's just kind of like, apparently people like to crap on my era a lot, but we had like some of like the best movies. Okay, you can at me on that. You can at me on that. Anyway, as we're going on with this like this whole nostalgia thing, there becomes an issue with like they don't work. They don't. It's very rare that you get an adaptation that works, and even right now as I'm recording this, I can't even think of one that actually does a decent job where it's good. Like maybe it, because it got a second movie, but that's about it. Like no one really treasures the second one as much as they did the first, which is kind of like in any way where it's like people used to be like the book is better than the movie. Well, the first one, well, the OG was better than this later one. Okay, it was better than the remake. And the issue is one, that people try to make updates to stories that don't work, prequels, and then also what's good, okay? Because like this later generation needs some like new stuff, because I looked at their list recently just for like stuff that's like in the Oscar category. Like these babies are getting cheated, and I mean like cheated. Maybe I'll like put up a list of like all of like the movies that get like nominated for Oscars now, because they don't really have a lot going on. And honestly, I feel like if you just look at the title and you just look at the trailer, you already feel like this is going to be like the biggest smack in the face ever. Issues we have about it is because it keeps trying to like add stuff, but it doesn't really work. Kind of like it's Aladdin. Oh boy, where do we even start? We're going to talk about 3 main issues I have with this entire movie and like why they're just weird. 1, Jasmine now gets a song. The song itself is not bad. It's the context behind the song. Okay? She now has a best friend. And they're like, it's time to show her culture. Here's why it's wild, okay? Because essentially her song that y'all wanted so much to be like her not being speechless, Jasmine being quiet was never an issue. Like let's please understand, if you watch the OG, her being quiet was never an issue. If anything, she really told you to go kick rocks in like 2 seconds flat, because essentially she looked at my boy Jafar, was like, no. Her dad was like, we should set her up, and she was like, I'm not a prize to be won. So she said, I'm out of here. And there's like a whole weird thing, because technically she still falls in love with like a guy who's like a huge liar, but like not even the fact that he's broke, but the fact that he's a liar, you know. I don't know, I guess like pick your poison. But then also this like whole best friend character, there was so much wrong with this, because I remember watching like the trailer for it, and for the longest I was like, is she just gonna serve there to be like an evil person at the end? Like, is this what this is gonna be? That's what I thought until I saw the very first opening scene of like my man Will Smith out here trying to tell his children a story, and then I happened to catch the background and I was like, no y'all didn't. No y'all did not. Because why in the world does the back of her head look smack like the best friend? And why was I right? Because essentially they just kind of created her, I guess, to give like essentially, I don't know what came first and what came last. Like that's the thing, because essentially she kind of just serves to be like the love interest for the genie. It makes 0 sense, but then at the same time she's supposed to be Jasmine's best friend, and it's her maid. Like someone who you kind of, I hope you pay her decent wages, but like it's someone that you pay to kind of spend time and do stuff for you. And that's your best friend. Like I feel like at this point it feels like you're being paid to be a best friend at this point. Like I don't like that dynamic of being like, you're my worker but we're best friends. Like no, that's no and no. Also, the last part about this that made me like more confused than anything is that I don't know if it's just because like current climates or like what people think is current climate, but like to my idea, to what last little bit of knowledge I have about things in life, Jasmine's supposed to be Arab. So in the live action remake, It looks like it is heavily influenced by Indian culture. Where do I even start? One, those are not synonymous because, and honestly I think it's just because like essentially I'll find out who put this quote up there. I'll put like a like a little thingy under me, but like literally someone kind of sat there and they were like, because she is Arab, but it's weird because the OG like Disney version of it, it's like just essentially like a weird white fetish size dream. I'll actually put the actual quote down here because like, or put in like a slide or something because like I can't remember it word for word and I threw away my note cards like after I finished off this presentation, but like it's just kind of like it's a white dream of like what Eastern, Middle Eastern Southwest culture looks like. So it's just kind of like they swapped out Indian for like Arab, even though those two were like nowhere near each other. Like it's just like you would just kind of have to look at it and be like, what the heck, like what is happening, why is it there, why did, like I don't know if it's just a thing that people feel like were scared that if they put like an Arab culture on screen and portrayed it well, that they were like, maybe the masses won't like that. But like, bruh, if you're trying to say that America is a nice melting pot, we have Arab people who live here. What's good? What's good that you could not put this nice Arab culture, the culture of like millions of people, and then just swap it for like a whole different country like that? Like you took a region, you swapped it for a random country. Like that doesn't make sense to me. But we're also gonna skip them because we're going for another horse that like apparently everyone's doing, like Death of an Author, and she's just confusion as to why. So we're gonna start with the prequels, okay? Because in this case, actually in many cases, when you kind of destroy the lore of your OG story, so it doesn't like really make sense anymore, you tell us parts, or you try to give us like details that we remember from like the OG, because like that's what we grew up on, but it's like nothing of the original that we actually like. Not saying that we don't like it, because we like those parts, but it's like you kind of spoon feed us like the good parts, and then it basically you're trying to create the whole razzle dazzle, but like it's a no. It's a no. And we have Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. So I wasn't completely like off the bandwagon like the first time around, because like I liked the first one. It was cute, and I think honestly it was a great starting point if you want to do a series. Crimes of Grindelwald was like utter garbage, like utter hot flaming garbage that like had sat there for like 27 days, and y'all just realized we needed to pick this up and go put it in a landfill. Like that is how I felt watching this, because as I sat there, and as someone who read the books, because I read the books, it wasn't like it had been years and years since I had read the books. I read the books when I was in high school. Like I think I started this whole reading journey when I was in like freshman, sophomore year, that I read all of the books. I read all of them. And so I kind of like was very aware of like a lot of things that happened, and my Harry Potter phrase get like really strong around that time. So like I was following all, I have a Pinterest board dedicated to everything that's Harry Potter. Like I had one for like Hunger Games, a little bit for Twilight, and I think I had like a whole separate one for My Hero Academia, because like it's amazing. But like it's not like I'm stupid. Like I know what your plot points were. It wasn't like I forgot anything, and this is after I grew up like solely on the movies until that point. Like I like to tell the story of like how I got into Harry Potter one day after I came home, and my mother had, after I came home from my dearest papa's house, and as I came home, on my mother's bed was the Sorcerer's Stone, Philosopher's Stone if you're not in the States, oops, and the Chamber of Secrets. I had them two to binge, and then as I got excited as a youngin' because I didn't know it was a full entire series. So when new like trailers kept coming out, like she was like, please calm down, and I was like, there is a Prisoner of Azkaban. Prisoner of Azkaban scared the shit out of me. Like I'm not gonna lie, like people say they got scared by like a Goblet of Fire. No. For me it was Prisoner of Azkaban, but where that's a whole separate video for like a separate day. But the issue with like the Crimes of Grindelwald specifically that kind of like let it down the toilet. And I mean, like, first of all, no one should have let JK Rowling write this script. I know it's gonna sound like really mean, but apparently she has like a really bad habit of just like her writing skills when it comes to plays. Because I think the Cursed Child people had a lot of things to say about her like queer baiting, and that like, I don't know if it was just kind of nonsensical at some point that it stopped making sense. But she shouldn't be allowed to write another script, because it's, I think people were really upset because they were like, how does this equal out? But I think people were so upset because they were not, they had not remembered her writing style, because the way she wrote the movie is very much how she wrote the books, and that doesn't work. Like, she would sit there and lead you on some nonsensical plot, and it should be like all over the place. But you can play Marco Polo because you have like different other like points of view. You could play Marco Polo in a book because at least we can kind of come back to. But it's like her like what is that? Is that your falling action? It's not even your climax. Maybe it is your climax. I don't know, because she would like how it should be like that. Hers will go like this, all like there, and then you like it's very quick because you just sit there and she essentially just has like her characters monologuing like all of their plans that they got to this point. So like even in like the Deathly Hallows, right, as like my man, right before, and that's why I like the movie version more than the book version, maybe because I saw that one first, but that one just seemed to fit me a bit more than that bullshit in the book, because it was just weird to me that like she kind of sat there and as like my man like said, ha ha bitches, I'm still alive, they just kind of like hold wands at each other, and then he goes, well, like, didn't I tell you about like Malfoy's wand and like what he did, because he did something back in like a last book that now makes it so it's his wand, but then I just saved him, so now it's my wand. So I don't think you want to fire that kill shot, Voldemort. And Voldemort's like, I don't think so, because all of this time I've been playing for this and this, but also I'm gonna kill you. And he literally like throws the spell, backfire, and he's dead. Like, that's it. That's your climax. Like, at this point it's like probably better writing than like Stephanie Meyer could ever hope for, but it's the fact that he literally goes like that and he just kills over. So because I had this knowledge when I went to go watch the movie, and as I sat there, my mother was looking just as confused as I was, because I had read the books, and she was like, I thought, and I'm like, I've read all the books and I still can't tell you what the hell this was just about, because none of it made sense. So especially these random parts in the book, because essentially years, like, I won't say years, but like a few years after she had ended off Deathly Hallows and just the books in general, she decided to come out here and be like, Dumbledore's gay. It wasn't in the books. She didn't really tell nobody until like, I forgot like when she even said that, but she was like, oh, Dumbledore, like, she just says things and it doesn't make any sense, because I think she's just like, I don't know what she expected. I think she just wants to kind of like be given credit and like give people hope that there's something, but then at the same time not try to deliver. So because we go into this knowledge knowing that Dumbledore's gay, we see it's about to be like Dumbledore versus like Grindelwald, where like, because she told us, she told us this, remember, she told us that he had like a weird like love relationship with Grindelwald. So at this point I'm getting hyped. I'm like, damn, what we about to see? It's about to be like some smooching in the corner, like, what we gonna see? And she decides to tell us that like they loved each other. No, someone else says, I forgot who says it, but it's like, so it's such a dumb quote, but it's just like they loved each other, like they really loved each other like brothers. And then he goes, no, more than brothers. And I'm sitting here like, it's like a best friend, like super best friends, like, what you mean? Like, if you gay, bro. But like, no. But then I guess their way to show that they were like gay is that they did like a blood pact, which is honestly trifling on so many levels. Don't do that. There's a whole episode of Family Guy for why you shouldn't do that, but like they do that, and that's like their way to be gay. And I'm just like, huh, what? we'll get to why that's a problem. Actually, no, we can talk about that right now. Is that the fact that she kind of writes these things and like tweets and stuff, and I don't think she like fully understands like the weight behind it. Like I know she wants to give young kids hope who grew up with give people hope who grew up with the series. So she's like, they're like, were there Jewish kids at this school? And she's like, yeah. And apparently she picked like the most stereotypical like Jewish name known to man, and just kind of said that was his name, and he was at the school. I think he was a Hufflepuff or something. You see the issues here? Or like the fact that oh my god, or just like the fact like where you just kind of act like, was so and so at the school? Like at this point I just kind of use like common sense at this point, that like fine, it's whatever. Like there's so many kids at the school, there's got to be at least like one black kid, one Asian kid, one kid who's like Southeast Asian, Southwest Asian, just Asian in general. Might even find you like a nice like Latino kid, but like. And then on top of that, right, when they did the whole cursed child like casting thing, and I was like, at the time I was like, wow, so woke. But then I thought about it and I was like, hold up, huh? Because me of all people, I'm not upset that like they cast Hermione as a black woman. Like that's not where my issue came in. It's like her reasoning for it, because she goes on to say like, I just said she had frizzy hair and that she was smart. That's all I ever said. Why am I trying to pop through with like a freaking Irish accent? I've been watching way too many. I was watching Jack and I was watching like the Irish Reader, so like it's stop it right now. But like that she was just like, no, I didn't say that. What I said is that she was smart, she had frizzy hair, and like that could be black. But at the same time, I'm like, you were also very explicit when it was a black character, because I remember reading the Sorcerer/Philosopher's Stone, and as I sat there, I didn't know whether or not to be more like weirded out that she goes the black wizard when she was describing Lee Jordan. She literally goes like the black wizard with like dreadlocks or something like that. I'll put the quote down here. But I was just like, I just remember even like reading it, I was concerned of whether or not I should be offended. So she was very clear when someone was supposed to be black, but at this time she doesn't want to like clarify that. So at this point you could have just been like, bro, it's like fucking show, get over it. She was better for the job. You could have just said any of those things, not to be like, well, I never said. You made it very clear when someone wasn't. Like, you made it very clear when they were not white, you know? Okay, they're gonna get down to the whole McGonagall thing, because this didn't bother me at first. It didn't really bother me when I saw it, because I was like, oh snap, it's McGonagall. But then people who we actually kind of pay attention to, like the timelines, like there are people who do that, who are just like, McGonagall shouldn't have been born. So why does she just show up in your movie like she's like 35? But then also like, again, because she kind of like tells us these things, and she kind of tells us these in post, and she goes like through full, very specific ways to say like, this happened here and this happened here. Like you told us that like at like 1945, this is when their big battle between Dumbledore and Grindelwald happens, because you also have specifically stated in some other things that you've done that like a lot of their history in the magic world also coincides to what we had happening here. So we know the end of World War II was in 1945. So why did you start your movie in 1929? And then even watching the second movie, I was like, this feels like it should have led up to like the last movie, not a 5 movies franchise that you have going, because like this just looks bad. And at this point I feel the only way you can top it and to make it seem like we need to be that long and start going to other different magic schools, because what you just did was like, it was dumb, it was stupid, and someone should have called you out on it from like the get-go. And honestly, I'm going to use this, I think it was like Cosmodor or something, or like the Cosmonaut Variety Hour or something like that, where basically it's just like, the only reason I know half of this information is because you went out of your way to tell me, don't go back on it. So like when she was like, she also broke her magic system, because I remember even watching the first one and I was like, and as they were making like the whole like shield thing, I want to say it's like the Protego spell, but I don't think that's exactly it. But you know, whenever they make like the big things, kind of like how they did in like the Deathly Hallows one, is that it moves so fast, and I was like, I don't know if this is just like technology taking over, but I was like, shouldn't it be slower, because it's like in the 20s. Oh my god, it's like it's so bad. It's so bad. And then also like at one point she also told us like certain spells can be used for stuff. So I think at one point she even said that like you can't use Accio on like living things. and its commander ends up using it on one of his creatures because it kept trying to steal shit. It's a living thing, is it not? Why is he using it on that? Again, I would know none of this if JK Rowling had never opened up her mouth and said it. Like, that's the issue. Then she just says like weird shit that doesn't make sense. Kind of like how like the students used to poop themselves. Like, what? Enough about that. But essentially, remakes this past decade were like the most selfish that I have ever seen them. Like, one, you don't really tackle anything with like diversity problems because most of them are still like white led films, or you'll be like, oh no, we're gonna just flip the race, they'll never know, and then you have like weird outrage like we do now, which is like completely dumb. Like that Little Mermaid situation with Halle Bailey, bruh, she's a fish, calm down, she is a freaking mermaid, and if only like you're only tied to a character that she has red hair, not even skin tone at this point, but like red hair that can be perfectly dyed, I have an issue. Period. At this point, you can at me, I don't even care. But like, if that's your only tie to a person that has like red hair, it's just the red hair, nothing else, they can probably dye her locks red. It really matters that much to you. But anywho, it doesn't really tackle anything with diversity, so we need more diverse like plots in movies. I'm still heavily upset with Princess and the Frog. You can at me on that. Because essentially, why is like your one black princess a frog for most of the movie? Like, the story itself is actually pretty cute and it's pretty nice, and I like how she's like a businesswoman, but at the same time I'm just like, so she's a frog and she kissed this frog for some shmoney. I need a redo. Like, at this point, you can make this many white princesses in a row, I'm gonna need me another black one. I need a redo. You can make her as dark as you want her. You can make her like Tiana shade with like, and actually at this point, low-key just give her a bush. Like, just give her like a dang old like afro. Like, I want that in my life. Give her a big old afro, and at this point, I think I'd be happy. Because like, because I even like at one point I was like, maybe it's just me, but at this point Disney kind of knows what they're doing. Because like, even if we haven't created like multiple white characters in like white TV shows and white movies, they have created like indigenous people before. Atlantis, The Lost Empire, Lilo and Stitch, Moana, and there's like a fourth one in there. Pocahontas, there we go. Y'all screwed up on Pocahontas, because like y'all just like gave this a whole white narrative, and like that's why it's kind of bad. Like, it's a great movie. I love the song. I will sing Colors of the Wind all day. But like, y'all know y'all were wrong because this is not even history. And Moana actually did pretty good. I'm proud of y'all. I really am. Yeah, Lilo and Stitch and like Journey to Atlantis. So like, cool. But if you can create like that many characters that are indigenous, you can create another black character. And on top of that, I'm still waiting on my Latina princess, because like y'all low-key did her dirty with Elena of Avila or whatever. Because at this point, I'm just like, of movies and shows that need to be created, this whole tokenism thing y'all got going on, because maybe I'll make that in my next video, Disney and like its tokenism problem. Because like, just looking at like the Disney lineup, like it's Disney princess lineup, I don't think I have to say more. Like, just look at the princess lineup and I don't think I need say more. Then also, it kind of just like cheats out this entire generation. And I'm just thinking about like all the movies that he had in his lifetime, and I'm like, low-key, they were trash. You had like a bunch of live actions and like some weird like animations. Like, I still haven't even seen Smallfoot. Maybe I'll watch it at some point. Maybe I'll change my mind on it. But like, I have like Smallfoot and like The Missing Link and like whatever that whole like something fun world. It is called Wonder Park. I feel like if you just like look at it just in just like trailer form, I looked at it and I was like, who was smoking what? Because again, I feel like I grew up in a very nice generation, because it wasn't like I didn't have to like live with like all of like this pressure on like my shoulders, because like 90s was like, we hold that to like, especially Disney, we hold that to like such like high like praise when we talk about like just Disney Renaissance. You know what the heck we're talking about. We're talking about Little Mermaid, who started it all, okay? Talking about like Beauty and the Beast. We're talking about Aladdin. Basically everything that just got remade, think about those. Like, just think about those. Not like minus Cinderella and The Jungle Book, but like think of those movies and like Mulan, questionably Tarzan and Hercules, the musicals. But like I also grew up in a really interesting generation because technically if you look on Disney Plus they call it the Silver Age of Disney because they were like they weren't that great, but we realized a lot of people loved them. I don't know, come at me, bro. But like from the generation that had like things like The Little Mermaid and like Aladdin, I grew up with things like Disney gave me Lilo and Stitch, Atlantis the Lost Empire, Brother Bear, Dinosaur, what else? Meet the Robinsons. That's an actual like good hit. If you, oh, I feel like if you just kind of watch them, like these are things that they kind of gave me, and like just in movie form. And it wasn't at that point. By the time I was coming, it wasn't just Disney. At that point, DreamWorks was coming through like a. Oh my god, like DreamWorks, first of all, they low-key kind of started off like The Prince of Egypt, and that used to be like my movie as like a kid. I was watching like Prince of Egypt, and they gave us like the Oscar-winning movie that is Shrek. I think I need y'all to understand that like Shrek won an Oscar. I know we all joke about it, but I don't think a lot of people understood it because I was shook when I realized this, that Shrek won an Oscar. Shrek 1 and Shrek 2. I like Shrek 3. I know it's like an unpopular opinion, but like I got Shrek 3 and then people kind of like Shrek 4. If you like Shrek 4, I just kind of like, I have to know why. Because I know why I like Shrek 3. I just like dumb humor. But like I had Shrek 3 and like all that, I had Madagascar. And if you want to get into like more, I grew up in like the era of like Ice Age. 1, 2, and questionably 3. Not so much 4 and 5 because like that just kind of came, they just like they would not let it go at that point. But like I had like the first 3 Ice Ages. I think I need y'all to understand like the impact that that had on me as a youth and what y'all are pushing out now. Like maybe I'm just a little biased, maybe, but like now they have like Trolls, which I mean I guess it's like a pretty good movie. They have Trolls. I'm glad they have Trolls. They just did like a world tour one and I just kind of stared at the screen like, it's just like an overload of color. Like at this point I don't even know if they just know what they're doing, if they're just ready to get, if they just think kids are like that dumb because they're like what do we need, overload them with color, they'll be fine. Yeah, while we had like weird ass puns and like Shrek 2 that as you watch it now it's like really funny. I can watch that as an adult and I can watch these movies as like an adult and I still do, and I think they're like absolutely hilarious because they're just like all off. Like buddy, I had like some of like the best movies and like this made an entire generation, and I don't think you understand what you did by just giving them straight up remakes. Do they have a personality? Because I guess you just kind of figured like movies are fine, but I'm like, you have kids who are growing up with freaking TikTok and YouTube Kids. Movies ain't it no more. Like unless it comes out on Netflix or like Hulu or Amazon Prime, like I don't think these kids are gonna be like up here popping, but like I feel like they could be saved. You know, that's all I really have to say about that. Essentially, remakes suck, and they suck for everyone involved because I feel like some people go see them because they actually want it, some people are just curious, and then if someone else sees it or you get to see you, they just ruin the entire thing, and it's literally just utter fucking trash. But I think that's all I have to say for today. I know it's like a really long video. I don't know how long I've been up here just saying my piece. It's been almost an hour. I think I'll probably like try and link some of my social media because I think I'm going to end up making a Twitter. So I'll try and like link that somewhere, or like put a picture, I don't know, somewhere over here. So yeah, somewhere over here. So thank you and see you in the next video. Bye.